Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video blog for Saturday, July 27th, 2013. A quick look at what's going on out in the tropics today. Not a whole heck of a lot besides Dorian sitting out here in a pretty weakened condition, winds down to 40 miles per hour. There's a little area of low pressure off the North Carolina coast, a non-tropical area. No significant development is expected before it moves over cooler waters, but is sitting out over the region and the coastal waters off the Carolinas. Something to keep in mind, especially if you're in a boat out that way. Here's what a visible satellite shot looks like of the system. Little small low pressure area right there. Again, anybody out on a boat, first of all, they're not watching this because they're out of the range to pick up any video activity on their internet, but I guess when they get back to shore they'll say, oh, that's what that was. But it's going to move on off to the northeast, and it won't have a chance to develop before encountering cooler water. If we take a wider shot of the Atlantic basin, you can see there's Dorian, more like a tropical wave of low pressure now trying to develop than it is a true tropical storm. So if this was never Dorian and we were just watching a tropical wave coming across the Atlantic, we would say, hey, wow, look at that pretty vigorous tropical wave out there. Maybe it has a chance to develop. In this case, we know that it is weakening and it's on its way out in terms of any development down the road. Looking at a visible close-up of it, you can see very clearly here, I'll zoom in on it, very little in the way of shower and thunderstorm activity. One little convective cluster there, maybe another one there. Otherwise, it's just a tropical wave of low pressure, just very weak. Basically, it has succumbed to the high pressures over the Atlantic Ocean right now, which is typical this time of year. I've talked about that a lot, that July is usually not your development month, and the fact that we did have Dorian form, I think, is pretty exceptional in and of itself. So let's go down here to Flossie in the eastern Pacific. Here's the track map for Flossie. This will be heading towards Hawaii, probably as a tropical storm. At least that's what it looks like now. Still several days away. So from Monday into Tuesday here is the time frame when the big island of Hawaii could be impacted. And this circulation, we're going to take a look at the satellite picture in just a minute, could bring the entire chain of islands a pretty good dose of rainfall. And as I have mentioned a lot, that is something that needs to be taken into consideration. Understanding the hazards from tropical cyclones. And Flossie has a large circulation here. This is going to be moving right towards and then through the Hawaiian Islands. So this whole area could get a pretty good dose of tropical rainfall. You see it almost has a little umbilical cord attached down to the deep tropics down here where water temperatures are much warmer. So you folks in Hawaii, don't discount this. I want to load up a loop of this real quick. Even though it's not going to be a major wind factor, the heavy rainfall is something that needs to be taken into consideration. And you can see this is much better organized than is Dorian. Flossie has a nice burst of convection right near the center and pretty good outflow established with it. It's just moving over cooler water out in this area that just can't support a very well organized, strong tropical cyclone, at least not this time of year, not from that direction. Looking at a quick shot of some Google Maps here of Hawaii, this is why there's a concern. Pretty good elevations here around the island, and people who live here obviously know that. This whole area is part of a volcanic group of islands, and so there's lots of elevation in here, and those rain bands as they pass through will uplift over those elevation changes, upslope winds, and it'll wring out even more moisture. So this is going to be a problem. I think the best bet for people out there that want to know exactly what's going to go on, go to weather.gov, put in your zip code up here in the upper left hand corner, and if you live in Hawaii, it'll pop up with a detailed forecast for your region, and that includes radar. That's going to be important. This is the radar for Hawaii. We'll zoom down here. There's Hawaii. So weather.gov, a great resource. This is going to fill in this weather radar over the next several days. Lots of rainfall coming for the Hawaiian area, the Hawaiian Islands, Hilo, all the way over to Maui. So be ready for that, all right? Don't discount this. just because it's only a tropical storm. Heavy rainfall, some gusty winds are in your future, so be careful out there and watch that closely. The rest of the tropics nice and quiet as we round out the month of July. Nothing else seen in the global models forming anytime soon. So we'll see what happens with the remnants of Dorian, and of course we'll be watching Flossie quite close, as that'll be a pretty big conversation topic for folks along the string of pearls out in the Central Pacific. Again, I'm Mark Sudduth. HurricaneTrack.com is my site. Always a privilege and an honor to do these videos for you on Hurricane Pro and the iPad version of HD. Have a good rest of your Saturday. I'll be back with more for you tomorrow.